Jewish Education in Media is pleased to present Chayim, a program that highlights the people, issues, and events of importance to the Jewish community. Now here is your host, Rabbi Mark Golub.
I now want to introduce you to someone who is doing remarkably wonderful things to help many, many people in the state of Israel. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Rabbi Peretz Charach, who for some 6.5 years was the chief rabbi of central Ukraine, but who is now with an organization called Marpeh LaNefesh, Healing the Soul, Healing the Ill, which is involved in psychiatric rehabilitation for Jews throughout the state of Israel. And Peretz, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Can I talk a little bit about you, then we'll talk about your work with Marpeh LaNefesh.
You're the boss.
Okay. How in the world do you end up the chief rabbi of central Ukraine?
Well, like everybody knows, since the fall of the former Soviet Union, the Iron Curtains, there were hundreds of thousands of Jews in the former Soviet Union, which were basically given the first time a chance to really learn about who they are and what they were suffering for so much as being Jews. Many of them didn't even know what being a Jew is. They just knew that they can't live in the big cities and they can't work. So a lot of rabbis and just plain ordinary Jews decided to take the opportunity, go down there and meet them and just put the cards on the table and show them who they are, where they come from, who are their grandfathers, and who they belong to, most important. And they were very excited to hear that there were millions of Jews around the world that they didn't know that all these years were caring for them, loving for them, and most importantly, praying for the situation to become what have happened. Actually, that they opened up the doors and they were able to leave, mainly to the state of Israel.
Literally, which city were you in?
The city is called Khmelnytsky, on the name of the famous butcher that killed about 500,000 Jews. Unfortunately, the Ukrainian government in 1954 changed the name from Preskurev, which was a Jewish city. Mostly about 60% were Jews. In 1954, they changed it and turned Bogdan Khmelnytsky into a hero. And that was the name of the city, Khmelnytsky.
It's interesting, for Jewish history, he was one of the most reviled of all butchers of Jews who led Cossack pogroms against the Jews of the Ukraine.
True.
And now there's a place named for him.
True. But on the other hand, that gave me an unbelievable push and strength that in the city of Khmelnytsky, I would walk around on the Shabbat with my fur hat, that Hasidic hat, and when I lived like 200 feet from the synagogue, but I would never walk from the synagogue to my house. I would walk with about 30, 40 students dressed as Jews, calling out that we're Jews through the market, a big circle around, so everybody should see that in the city of Khmelnytsky, Jewish life had started again.
Mm-hmm. Peretz, what years were these?
I came there in 1994, and I was there till 2000, the middle of 2000. Then I left. I was there with my wife and 3 children. And for the next 4 years, I was coming back once or twice a month.
You had 3 children when you first went to the Ukraine.
When I came to the Ukraine, I had 2 children.
You had a 3rd child in the Ukraine.
In the Ukraine.
And how many children do you have now?
8 3/4.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. We're waiting.
Mazel tov. What's your wife's name?
My wife's name is Esther.
And are you part of Chabad?
No.
So are you affiliated with any Jewish organization?
I belong in my personal life to a Hasidic movement called Karlin, Stalin, which we are very different than Chabad.
In what way?
We believe very, very much in whatever we do should be away from the press. This is actually the first time that I'm speaking on TV saying about my personal life, what we did over there. We were out there to do what we have to do, and nobody really has to know about it. So it was very different in Chabad of the way that it's done without media. Mm-hmm. We respect the way they do, but this is our way.
And just out of curiosity, I am flattered, but why have you decided you would appear on Shalom TV?
I think it's very important for the word to get out. First of all, to see an Orthodox rabbi right here. It's very important to know that when a father, one of the ways of disciplining his children is when two children fight, he puts them into a room and locks the door and says, now both of you have to work together to get them out. And then what happens, all of a sudden they forget what happened in the past, and all they're thinking is how to get out of the room. I think in a time when the state of Israel is going through very hard times, I don't know how much the people here in the United States feel it, but the fear is very big, knowing our surroundings, if it's the Hezbollah, if it's the Hamas, now with our relationship with Turkey, what's going on with Iran, the Israeli Palestinians, the Israeli citizens, the Arabs, it's very, very scary. And there are a lot of problems in Israel, and I think that there are times that everything has to be put aside and say, we're brothers, and there are people out there, the most neglected, that need our help. And we should help them, because the people that are being helped in Israel do not enter the organization if they're religious, if they're secular, if they're reform or conservative. And we even have Arab Israelis living by us. So it really doesn't make a difference. If you belong to the family which is called mentally challenged, you will find your place by us.
This is in Marpeh LaNefesh.
Marpeh LaNefesh.
Come back to one thing you just said. Here in America, we do tend to feel that there is a greater and greater division within the state of Israel between the Haredi community, which we tend to call ultra-Orthodox, and the overwhelming number of Israelis who, to one degree or another, certainly are not Orthodox and see themselves as, quote, secular. I say, quote, secular because you know, Peretz, what it means to be secular in Israel is not what it means to be a secular Jew here in America. And many, quote, secular Jews in Israel are still celebrating Shabbat in some way on Friday evening. But can you tell me how you have experienced this tension between the Haredi community and the non-Haredi community in the state of Israel?
If you take an organization which I run, we have 650 people living by us with hundreds of people around that we support, plus there are thousands of family. We're 80% what's called secular. So among the average person in the street, every secular person has a very close friend, an ultra-Orthodox, and every ultra-Orthodox has 100 secular friends. We don't really have a problem getting along. We do understand each other a lot more than it seems on the media. We do have extremists, but extremists we have on this side and on this side. I think that you will realize if you will look in the past, whenever there's a smell of elections in the air, that is a way of promoting yourself by hitting on the ultra-Orthodox Jews, because there are very few, I say very few, real questions. And I think one of the most hard things for secular persons to understand why the Orthodox people don't serve in the army, and it should be dealt around the table with respect. At least 1% of the time that's dealt around the table with the Palestinians. We are brothers. We spend billions of dollars and thousands of hours to sit and try to understand people that are literally murdering us, putting bombs in the bus, suicide bombers. Shouldn't we give a little bit more time to say, you know, this is my brother, I don't agree with you, you have faults. Not only I don't agree, I'm very upset at you as a matter of fact, but give us 1% of that. Let's sit by the table and say, okay, first of all, that's democracy. Let me hear what you say, even if I don't agree.
Peretz, do you consider yourself part of the Haredi community?
I consider myself as a Jew which is trying to be a good Jew. I don't know what Haredi means. I don't think that the Torah belongs to me or to you or to anybody else. The Talmud teaches us that the Torah is in a corner and says, calls out, whoever wants, please come and take me.
I want you to say that again. You know, in America, there's a perception that every Orthodox Jew, especially anybody in the Haredi community, and for that matter, many in the Hasidic community, assume that the non-observant Jew is somehow not a Jew at all. What's your response?
I think that just like we have to blame the secular Jews for not really giving us enough time to explain ourselves, I think we also should be explaining ourselves a lot better. We should be showing the good of the religion. We should be showing the good things that are done. And they have to, in the schools and in the yeshivas, they have to be explained. Nobody really comes and explains. I'm talking about even from our side, the rabbis. The first thing is to explain that according to the halacha, a secular Jew, on the Shabbat, which is on the Holy of the Holiest, on Yom Kippur, if a building falls down, and we're not even sure that he's there, he just might be there, and we're not sure, probably he died, he might be alive. And theoretically speaking, if the professionals come and say, in order to save that Jew, we need 150 ultra-Orthodox rabbis right now to eat no kosher, to disgrace the Yom Kippur, to drive in a car, smoke a cigarette, and that might save him, the halacha says that's what has to be done.
It's an obligation.
It's an obligation. It must be done. So if you really take away the top cover, the top shell, peel it off, we will find ourselves really loving each other, and we should try to understand each other, because 65 years ago, nobody asked us if we were Haredi, if we were Hasidic, if we were from the Litvak. So we're judged as one, so we should try to bring ourselves a little bit closer to each other.
And forgive me, I just want to make sure our audience understands what you're saying. From your perspective, the idea that the Torah is there for anyone who wants it, there are some who take the all or nothing approach. Either you're completely observant, or why are you doing anything? Are you able to appreciate the extent to which there are different, authentic approaches to being Jewish?
Well, it's a very difficult question. And what I would say is that when somebody comes and says, this is right now in the meantime what I can obey, I will try more and more, that's definitely okay. Because there is no all or none. There is no such a thing. But when somebody comes and says that the Torah, let's just take out a part here, a part here, that doesn't exist. With that, I have a little bit of a problem. That means if my son would come home and say, Tati, I really want to be a good boy in yeshiva, but I find it hard. I will go speak to the rabbi and say, listen, let's try, let's give him a prize. Let's try to understand him. Let's be sensitive to this situation. But if he comes and says, Daddy, I will learn only in the morning. I don't want to learn in the afternoon. I would tell him, listen, if you want to be in the yeshiva, these are the rules of the yeshiva. You can't decide what you want. When you get married, you can't tell your wife, I will be loyal to you 24/7, besides from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. It doesn't work that way. But if I say, listen, you know who I am, you know where I come from, I'm going to try my best, I'm working on it, please help me. Even if I'm as unloyal as can be, I would still accept it. So what I'm saying in one word to sum it up is that the Torah is the Torah. We can't pick out parts. But there is no such a thing as all or none.
Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up as a Brooklyn boy. I was a big troublemaker when I was a little kid.
Were you?
Oh, yeah. I probably still am, a lot of people would say.
Were you born, was your family within the Orthodox community?
My family was in the Orthodox community.
And you went to yeshiva as a child?
I went to yeshiva as a child.
Okay. And then where was smicha from?
Well, I went in Israel, I learned in Brisk, and then we went into a kollel. We had a special kollel for the Kohanim that learned the halacha, everything that regards what has to be done when the third temple will be built, and that's where I learned, that's where we got smicha.
I'm sorry, are you a Kohen as well?
I'm a Kohen.
Okay. So now come to the present and your work with Marpeh LaNefesh, which again deals with people who are, and you had a very nice way of saying it, it's not simply that you do psychiatric rehabilitation, but you're working with those who are
mentally challenged.
Mentally challenged.
Which means, first of all, I want you to know, Mark, and everybody that's watching us now, that me or you or anybody that's watching us could wake up tomorrow morning and find himself in this category of mentally challenged. We have in our place rabbis, professors, social workers, businessmen, postpartum depression, women after birth, people that lost their children in car accidents, people that lost their children in the army, people that lost family members in terror attacks, people that just lost their jobs, and people that are having a lot of stress at home. So basically, we are all in the category of possibly being diagnosed as something wrong. Now, what we do is, the ultimate goal is there's a very, it's a new way of thinking. Just like somebody has a heart problem, He's home, he continues to be with his family, and when his heart starts playing, you go to the hospital. Mental illness could be treated. Mental illness could be taken care of. And when something happens, there should be a special place that can take care of it. But the ultimate goal is to integrate him back into society, bring him back to his wife. What we have something new now also is, if let's say a woman, postpartum depression, instead of taking her out of the house, we will bring help into the house. Because by you taking her out of the house, you're ruining, killing the father, the brothers, the sisters. It becomes a stigma, unfortunately. So we bring the help into the house. And now, unfortunately, with Israel going through rocket attacks, there are hundreds of thousands of people that live through fear. So we have little places set up with professionals that you can call and just get the minimum help, but the immediate help, which is needed. Gilad Shalit, right? Everybody that's watching us now, when you say Gilad Shalit, gets the shivers. Gilad Shalit, everybody saw him come off the helicopter when the prime minister was waiting for him. He was weak, he was pale. But if you look at him now, he looks pretty healthy. He went through surgery, he's doing physical therapy, he's running around the world. He's cured. But there is one thing that nobody sees: the psychological damage that was done to him. The waking up at night, dreaming that he's in the cell, that they want to kill him. That will take years. And over there, nobody is there to help. We're there to help the people that are bleeding internally. We're there to help the people that the society neglected.
You know, Peretz, there is another sort of like cliche image American Jews have of Israelis, that although they live under extraordinarily difficult situations and they are threatened by various groups and have lived, especially prior to the security barrier, with horrendous incursions of terrorist bombers and suicide bombers, and a parent worries when his child leaves the house, will the child return in safety? But there is sometimes an image that the Israeli lives somehow with this without fear. That somehow the Israeli has become so inured to the danger that while a parent always worries for a child, the Israeli doesn't necessarily worry about himself. You have said now more than once that the reality of Israeli life is that there are many Israelis who are under extraordinary emotional strain and pressure from all of the threats that are around the Israeli people, the state of Israel, both externally and internally. Would you speak to me for one moment about the reality of the Israeli day-to-day life, and to what extent there really is among the Israeli people a palpable, and fear may be too strong a word, but anxiety, which you are addressing as you speak to us?
Very interesting. On the Independence Day, this last Independence Day in Israel, I had very special guests. Pastor Mario Bramnick from Miami. He's the right-hand man of Pastor Maldonado. We brought him to Israel to experience the celebrations of the Independence Day. And I took him on the Independence Day for a tour in Sderot, which has had thousands of rocket attacks. I know the mayor, he's a personal friend, and he met us. He gave us a little tour. And he said that when one of the people from the UN, from human rights or whatever, came to the Gaza Strip and then to Sderot, so he walks into Sderot and he says, I don't see anything here. Everything looks perfectly fine. The children are smiling. Even when a rocket hits, within 2-3 hours, you can't even see that there was a rocket. They clean the glass, they fix it, because they want to give the people a better life. When he finished saying that to the mayor, and what he was trying to say is that the people in Gaza suffer more, he says, come with me. They walk into a classroom, and he sees everybody smiling. With his foot, he slams the door shut, and the door gives a bang shut. All the children jumped and ran under the table. You saw the fear, you saw the anxiety. True, Israel does at most to try and maintain and continue a normal life, but there is fear. There definitely is fear. You know when you feel the fear? when I bring my children in the morning and I see the guard standing outside with a gun, is like 75 years old. I'm like, what's he going to do if, God forbid, somebody comes and tries to do something in the school? Or when I pass by a park and I'm looking around, I see 200 children. The first thing what my mind says is, where's the guard? I don't even realize that I'm not living a normal life. And God forbid, if you hear on the radio that there was a terror attack, they don't know yet where, in Jerusalem, that's when your heart stops working, because everybody is scared that it might be here. So to say that because we don't really see it means that we're not suffering, no, we are suffering. Unfortunately, you get used to what you suffer. When people, in the beginning of a sickness or in the beginning, when somebody breaks his foot, he'll walk with the crutches, it's very difficult. But as time goes by, he starts running with them. But it's still not normal life.
Peretz, why are you in the United States now?
Right now I'm in the United States because one of the things that I do is, I took that from my parents. We're 11 brothers and children, 11 brothers and sisters, but we have one is adopted. We have a Down syndrome, a sister with Down syndrome, and my mother, when she moved to Israel, right after she moved, she started volunteering in the hospital, and a couple had a Down syndrome, and she said that she's going to take it home because the parents left the child now. So we have a history in our family of adopting children, or just trying to be sensitive to the weak, or to the people that the society basically forgot about. I'm married 22 years, and I hope to be a grandfather soon. And through my years, we adopted over 20 children besides my biological children. And it was never something that I went to look for. It was just something that came my way, or maybe just something that I realized that came my way. One of the people that I took out of an orphanage is with me here today. He was diagnosed with MS right after he got married. That unfortunately brought to an end his marriage. And about 3 months ago, he was complaining about headaches. They thought it was symptoms of the past. And it turns out that he had a very, very great, large tumor in his head. And there was no other way, no way to deal with it in Israel. We flew him in here. We did everything that was necessary. He went through very, very successful, maybe miraculously, 4 major operations and 3 minor procedures. Doctor said that the chances of him making through it will be very, very, very low. After 3 days that he was literally getting up, fainting from pain, where his heart rate was jumping from 60 to 150, he woke up, and within a week, he went in Thursday, a week before Passover, for the Seder night, the holiday night. He was out of the hospital. True. He does have pain. He still has a little bit of a tumor. He's going to have to go through proton beam laser in Boston. He's going to have to go through radiation, very heavy radiation. But on the other hand, the doctors expected way less than this. And the doctor, which is a Muslim, told all the staff members from the operating room, if you want to see a miracle, come up and see this patient.
Wow. Which hospital is this?
Brigham and Women's.
That's quite an amazing story. And you're lovely to care for him and to make sure he got this spectacular care, which, again, there are, quote, miracles being done by people in the medical profession now, and we're very lucky to live at this point in time, and who knows what the miracles will be, 10 or 15 years from now, but that's really very beautiful. Did you say that you adopted 20 people, 20 children?
Yeah. Well, when I say adopted, I mean anybody that was in my house over a year and a half. We had a lot more just going through for a month or 2.
How were you able to afford it?
Well, I think the Talmud says that the one that gives life will give bread. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know.
And you don't worry about it, do you?
To be honest, I'm not such a big tzaddik, but I do worry sometimes. But one thing I do know is I thank every day Hashem for giving me the opportunity to be the right person in the right place, because the feeling of satisfaction by helping somebody whoever's watching us now and never tried it, I'm telling you it's worth it. Go out there, take one serious case, and just take it for a year and a half, work, go alongside. When you will finish your job, there is nothing compared to that satisfaction.
again, I'm hoping now your being on Shalom TV and our audience getting to know you through television will help them not only feel closer to the state of Israel, but also understand more about what we as Jews are trying to do and create in a more beautiful world. Kol tuv v'hatzlacha to you.
Thank you very much.
You.
And thank you for
and
having
we will
me
have
here.
many other meetings. And when I come to Israel, I expect to meet with you.
I will be very, very excited.
That was my meeting with Peretz Charach, who again is with Marpeh LaNefesh, an organization that deals with the mentally challenged in the state of Israel. I hope you were as moved by meeting Peretz as I was. As always, I invite you to be in touch with me with any thoughts or comments you may have to any of the things that Peretz had to say. Please email me, write me, post on our Facebook wall, or tweet me. I look forward to hearing from you. Until the next time, I'm Mark Golub. Be well, my friends.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support Shalom TV with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the Shalom TV website homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive on DVD with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.
Chayim is a presentation of Jewish Education in Media.